Well, hi, everybody. So, welcome to the session. I'm Alan B., and I'm from Region 5, Cleveland Central Intergroup. That's where I am in Cleveland, Ohio. And so, what I'd like to do is I'd like to actually start with letting you know some of the questions that we're going to be hitting so that you have an idea. We're going to be talking about the principles, and it's how are the principles important in your recovery? What principles have you embraced right away in your personal life? Which principles have helped you the most in carrying the message? And what principles have you found challenging to put into practice in all areas of your life? And we'll repeat that also at the end. And I'm going to start to share a little bit about me and where I am with the principles. I also want to tell you, I'm going to read also from the OA 12 and 12 second edition. So that's got the principles, right, as it talks about in step 2, in step 12. Okay. And that's starting on 84 at the bottom. So I've been in the room for 49 years. And by the grace of God, I've been abstinent for 38 years. So a little stuff in between. Principles help me get abstinent. Okay. The principles I kind of look at is the best inventory that you can do. Because I could look and see, where am I on the principle? Am I truly doing that? On page 84 of the OA 12 and 12, it says in step 1, we learned the principle of honesty. We admitted our personal powerlessness over food and the fact that without help, we could not successfully manage our own lives. Now we want to continue being honest with ourselves in all our affairs. One important way to practice honesty today is by admitting that we are still compulsive overeaters, that we still need daily help. This automatically helped me when I came in. I didn't use this principle when I first came in. It took me a while to get there. Okay. It was the honesty that I could be honest about a lot of things. I was, as they call, cash register honest. I wouldn't steal a thing. Okay. But food, first I was going to lie to me and say it wasn't that big a deal. I didn't have that much. And then I lied all the way through. That was the start. When I got honest is when my recovery came. In step 2, we learned hope. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. This same hope now underlies all our actions, even in our loneliest hours. We can remind ourselves of the great truth that we are not alone. Even in the weakest moments, we can find the strength we need if we believe it is available to us and ask for it. And hope is something that I look at it as a noun, right? Not a verb. It's not something that I want. I hope I can get this. It's like found hope in these rooms. I really didn't think that I could stop eating compulsively. I wanted to lose weight and I was going to cheat every which way to do it. But I didn't think that I could really have it happen, that food would be down. Several years ago, many years ago, I guess it was now, short version of it, my wife lost her job. I lost my job. We had a house. We had a number of generations in the house. We had my stepson, my granddaughter, and then my granddaughter was expecting. So we had many generations. Biggest thing I had was the idea that there was hope. This is going to change. I didn't know when, I didn't know how, but it was going to change. And that was one of the things that helped me so much into this program, as well as, like I said, the hope of what I had as compulsive overeater. That just brings a little bit more into things that have happened in my life going forward. In step 3, we learned faith. We made the most important decision we had ever made, the decision to turn to trust God as we understand God with our will and our lives. Practicing the principles of faith today means that we're no longer go through life acting however we feel like acting at any given moment. Instead, we look at our higher power for guidance and strength as we face each decision. So that's another thing. Somebody used to hear in meetings, they'd say, once you're a pickle, you can't go back to being a cucumber. Okay. Once I learned what my higher power's will was for me, I couldn't go back and just do it. I was very aware. Believe me, I can still do wrong and I can still make plenty of mistakes, but I can't not know. And my higher power, to really have that faith, I liken it to the idea that when you were a 2-year-old, and if you want to play in the traffic, somebody takes you out and saves you. You don't look and say, what a great idea. I want to play in traffic. Okay. You just can't understand it. That's where I put my faith in my higher power. It's just that belief that it's going to continue to go. So that's where that faith was. In step 4 and 5, we learn courage and integrity as we face the truth about our defects of character. Applying these principles in all our affairs means we're no longer ruled by fear or admitting our mistakes. We have the integrity to show the world our true selves, no longer needing to appear perfect. We can live more fully, having the courage to face up to our mistakes and test our strengths in the challenges of life. I got to tell you, I was somebody who took about 10 years or 9 years in between relapse to do my 4-step, right? Because I did not want to know where I was in the past. Just didn't want to know at all. So I just skated over it and ate over it is what I did. And in doing that, I never really got past anything. I didn't even know what my past was, but I didn't want to get there. And then the integrity to be able to share this with somebody else. Could somebody else be so non-judgmental over who I was? When I did my 4-step, I did it in code. These little letters that I had to figure out by the time I read it to my sponsor. Okay. Because I didn't have that faith at that point. And I didn't have enough integrity to see how it was going to work with that and the courage. But by the time I did it, I truly realized that something I had heard and I kept to heart. They said recovery is when you stop wishing for a different past. And that was the way I felt. Okay, that's just my past. That's just who I was. And all that fear that I had of, how do I share this with somebody? Faith happened to me, right? And all of a sudden, I didn't care. I was comfortable. I could just share what was going on. And I always prayed that when I would take somebody else's 4-step, that I would do the way my sponsor did. A HUD at the right times, said nothing when she wasn't supposed to, and shared when it was the right time. I don't know how that perfection happened other than a higher power. In step 6, we learned more about the necessity of willingness as we became entirely ready to let go of our shortcomings. We apply this principle in many ways now, learning through each day's experience the difference between self-will and simple willingness to cooperate with the guidance of our higher power. So everything always boils down to my higher power. I've got to go there in each instance. And that willingness was just the fact that I had defects that I acknowledged in my 4-step or with my 5th step as I did it. And I asked me, it says, are these objectionable? Yes, they are. I just had to be willing to do the process. Because I love the fact that step 6 and 7 are separate. It says, am I willing? That's it. Because my analytical mind wants to go, I don't know how would I get rid of it. I don't know how I can get rid of this. I'm going to really enjoy this. That's what those defects of character did for me. Right? Because my sponsor used to tell me that our defects are sometimes good characteristics that we just take too far. They were doing things for me, then they started to do things to me. And then in step 7, we begin to understand the meaning of humility. We practice this principle today by continuing to let go of status seeking and thoughts and actions of which belittle ourselves and others. We try to remain teachable and humble, and humbly trust God for the removal of our shortcomings. Automatically, I learned I can't do this alone. And if I couldn't do this alone in my shortcomings, I had to do this also with other mistakes that I needed help with. That's why I got a sponsor. That's why I had somebody where I couldn't trust me. If I could have trusted me, I would have just done it, but I couldn't. So there was that humility, just realizing I can't do this alone. I just can't. This program was never meant to be done alone. And that was truly where I grabbed it from. And so that does hit in all areas of my life. I'm not afraid to own up when I can't do things. That's not what I do best. And I don't put myself down for it because I don't care. It's just where I am and knowing that others can help me to do it. And on the same token, this is what I returned, God willing. I can share with others and help them. In steps 8 and 9, we looked at the damage we had done to others and said about repairing it. Now we apply the same principles of self-discipline and love for others to all our actions. Self-discipline makes us less likely to hurt other people and quicker to make amends when we do. Practicing the principle of love, we learn to accept others as they are, not as we would have them be. We're beginning to take this new attitude, not just towards other OA members, but also towards people at home, school, work, and in all areas of our lives. Slowly but surely, we find we are establishing the best possible relationship with each person we know. Okay, so it's a lot in there, but the idea of repairing past situations, being able to amend is just being able to change. And that was probably the bigger thing, right? Saying I'm sorry is easy. Changing is different. In step 8, I just had to even acknowledge on a list, who are these people? Did I owe them an amends? Yes. And again, I had to stop thinking about the next step. I don't know how I'd make an amends to them. I don't know if I feel good saying I'm sorry to them. How would I do this? And how could I change all that stuff that would go into my head? But I wasn't there yet. I wasn't supposed to be there yet. It doesn't matter at that point. It was just that willingness. And then to be able to practice love. Yeah. I think my wife is in program. So yes, we have that love, you have a few different loves, but to be able to love her and to love others as they are in every aspect, because that's how we're made. It's taught me to have a much more genuine feel to others and not worry, just to be able to see people as they are and not how I would like them to be. By the way, my wife is exactly how I'd like her to be, but that's another story. Okay. In step 11, we learned the principle of spiritual awareness. As we turned our attention to the practice of prayer and meditation, we practice the principle by seeking an awareness of God's presence in all our affairs and continuing to nurture the spiritual connection through prayer and meditation. I am very blessed to feel like I have a higher power that's just on my shoulder, is with me. Because like I said, I can do wrong. I can do plenty of wrong, but I can't not know. My higher power's direction is so simple for me. I can tell the difference between, is it God's will, who I choose to call God, or is it my will? I can tell you that his will always like what's requested of me. Okay. So when I try it the easier, softer way, which is my will, I can tell it's my will because I'm manipulating it. I'm doing exactly what I want, but I'm figuring out all the different pieces to make it happen. That's how I know it's my will. God's will is simple, or my higher power's will, that is totally simple. So that awareness of having him with me is an all the time thing. The principle of service, which underlines OA's 12th step, can now guide our actions, both inside and outside the program. Here we experience the great truth that when we let go of our need to control people and simply allow our higher power to serve others, through us, we receive an abundance of joy and strength. And I heard it when I first came in, that I give this service selfishly. I do it because I get so much out of it. After I'm done, which will be in just a couple of minutes, I get a chance to listen. I get a chance to listen to the speaker, and I get a chance to listen to hopefully all of you, or many of you, as you can share this and find out where the principles are. And in those questions, it says, what principles are important to your recovery? What principles have embraced right away in my personal life? I think the one that It was really probably, honesty was not the first to embrace. It was the hope. I saw in these rooms that there was hope. That was what I saw. Which principles have helped you the most in carrying the message? I'm sorry, actually, spiritual awareness is what really helped me the most. And it was being able to share that hope with others. That's what's helped me the most. And what principles have you found challenging to put into practice in all areas of your life? That one was called self-discipline. It seems to be an oxymoron to have a program that says, I need help, and then have self-discipline. I can tell you, I have a higher power who also wears skin, who helped me. I cannot do that on my own. And I want to thank you, and I hope I said that somewhat correctly. And I'm going to shut